You are watching Trixie Lane, the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case truths unfold.
Who is David Blanchard? Chairman at VisionCon? Someone who raises money for charity regarding VisionCon? A local LARPer and a DJ. Some interesting updates about David and Dan Glidewell's association. Originally, we were unable to connect Dan and David together before 2009, which this was when Dan's LARPing group performed at VisionCon. We had been told by associates that one of Dan's friends was romantically involved with Kimberly Blanchard sometime before she and David had ever started dating. So we knew there was a good probability that they knew one another prior to this performance. Also, let's not forget that David allegedly was selling illegal prescription drugs to Dan prior to VisionCon. What seems interesting, though, they were linked together at VisionCon in 2001, a time when Dan supposedly had not been yet. However, there was no direct comment stating that, but look what was found. So we need to be providing some context to these questions and try to figure out what's going on here. Because here's the timeline. Dee Dee and Gypsy moved to Aurora, Missouri, which is about 30 minutes from Springfield, in 2005 due to Hurricane Katrina, right? So in 2006, they were still in Aurora. They had not moved to Springfield quite yet. I don't know if Dee Dee had a vehicle or not. I actually don't think she did. But David was a busy guy back then, between VisionCon, 501st Legion, as well as 70th Garrison. He still found time to engage on gaming forums that he was a member of. And if you look at this forum, again, a lady called Dee Dee is on the forum as well, but in 2006, showing it being her first year. Now, that makes a lot of sense because by then, Dee Dee and Gypsy had been living in Missouri for a year. Okay? Now, we're not saying this is Dee Dee Blanchard, but we're also not saying it's not. We need to look into this a little bit more. But they're saying that Gypsy Rose Blanchard didn't even start attending VisionCon until 2009. But did she? You may remember from previous videos that David claimed he didn't know Gypsy could walk, but we're about to prove that was a lie. Some of David's colleagues and close friends who worked with him at 2 different venues also claimed they didn't know Gypsy could walk. However, they later slipped up and revealed that they did know. One of them mentioned that they didn't have a wheelchair ramp, but Gypsy didn't need it when she visited their house. The other said the other colleague called them at 3 a.m. to ask them to call Dee Dee to come get Gypsy from her house while visiting Dan. It's unlikely that someone would be that close to Gypsy and not know she couldn't walk. According to VisionCon's now deleted website, the convention originated as a 1989 game day and evolved into a weekend-long event. By 2002, it was promoted as a gaming convention, but with a twist. But further investigation revealed it had more to do with adult themes, raising questions about its suitability as a child-friendly event. They referred to the child care as the Brats. It is stated on VisionCon's website that David started working there in 1996. His hobbies included LARPing, other role-playing games, and making stuff, which included metallic-looking, skimpy bras and women belly dancing attire. And there was plenty of that at VisionCon performances in front of small children. David stayed with VisionCon until 2015, and then allegedly he stepped down. David Blanchard took on a secondary role in 2008, helping to run Ground Zero, a goth club in Springfield that opened in 2007. Some of his peers from VisionCon, whom he was very close with, worked at the club as well, while other convention attendees frequently visited. Given the allegations of David taking advantage of multiple women, I'm very surprised he is involved with any charities and can work with kids, because his association with the club raises further questions. In October of 2007, the venue started hosting an 18 or older Gamers Sunday event, targeting fans of role-playing games and live-action role-playing. And it's likely that David and his two VisionCon colleagues played a key role in introducing gaming to the venue, given their backgrounds and their skills they brought to the table. Similar to VisionCon, Ground Zero's Gamer Sunday also expanded from a single-day event to a weekend-long event, and in February of 2008, the venue introduced NotCon, a weekend-long event that was clearly a pun on VisionCon, which was canceled that year. NotCon also integrated some adult-oriented themes from VisionCon into its event, such as a costume party and a slave auction, which were absent from its Gamer Sunday event, indicating a shift from purely gaming to more adult-related themes. It's worth noting while Dan Glidewell's interests align with these events, it's unclear whether he actually attended any of them, with some sources confirming his presence and others describing him as unlikely to participate in such activities, and no images or videos have been found of him at these establishments.
This is a trigger warning. Content being viewed may contain possible triggers. Please be advised.
Ground Zero was also scheduled to host 2008 Mosque and Veil Festival, where David Duncan Blanchard was listed as festival security personnel. A main feature of the festival was the Biohazard Ball, which involved wearing custom-made medical gas masks or rubber latex masks, also referred to as the cyber masks. A bondage stage demo featuring Miss Callis' troupe of performers was also scheduled to take place during the Biohazard Ball, with the troupe being described on the website as incorporating leather, latex, and revealing clothing, reflecting the close association between the BDSM fetish subculture and Gothic and industrial events in recent times. The festival was canceled last minute because of Hurricane Ike, but the Mosque and Veil did manage to host at least one event at Ground Zero, known as La Sanguine 4, as known as Return of the Bloodletting Ball, which was staged on Valentine's Day in 2008, encouraging guests to dress your best in blood red or vampire attire. After being led to believe that Ground Zero was not considered a BDSM club and doing further research, we can now clearly see that BDSM does link to the goth club. To further cite, links of interest, which was posted on the website, includes links to Alter Ego Erotics and the Fetish Factory. You don't have to look too hard to see that those elements are also displayed at VisionCon. That is now 2 extracurriculars that David Blanchard has his wet paws sunk into and is associated with. There is no doubt about it, he is into bondage and discipline. But did you know that bondage and discipline are only 2 elements of BDSM? It's about to get a whole lot darker. The trigger warning is still in effect. On Saturday, June 21st, 2008, a group of performers known as the Pain Tribe were booked to appear at Ground Zero. Pain Tribe, aka Atone Pain Tribe, refer to themselves on their MySpace page account as the Traveling Freak Show, and in a press statement, they describe their act as taking the extreme sideshow, fetish, and torture scene by storm. Now we're entering the realms of sadism and masochism, and unfortunately, the best way to convey this is through the use of a small number of images taken from Pain Tribe shows, including performances from June of 2008. Please know that we're not here to judge consenting adults who engage in BDSM. Everybody has a right to their own kinks, I guess you could call it, but I am here to judge David Blanchard and his character and those within his group. Pain Tribe started out in 2001, mainly putting on shows in their home state of Louisiana, until 2007 when they started touring. What a coincidence, right? Louisiana of all things. Features of their show included suicide, cage torture, face spears, and frontal cornea suspension. I have no idea who booked the Pain Tribe to appear at Ground Zero. But what we do know is that David Blanchard was still working at the venue just before the act was likely booked. DJ Duncan hit the decks at Ground Zero on March 12, 2008, as well as after the act had happened. The Mosque and Veil Festival was due to take place in September of 2008. While we cannot yet physically prove that David was attending this event, it's fair to assume that he was aware of the booking and who the Pain Tribe were, because it's also worth noting that other VisionCon staff were also involved in the running of Ground Zero, and other members of VisionCon organization attended these events at Ground Zero, as did a number of Dan Glidewell's close friends. BDSM and role-playing was demonstrated as a form of manipulation by Gypsy Rose Blanchard to Nicholas Godejohn in their relationship to control Nick into unaliving Dee Dee. The blame solely lays on Gypsy, but who groomed her?
So perfect. What I was going to say, what I wanted to ask is, are you a psychopath? Because if you are one, then it's very good match.
Dan Glidewell suggests Gypsy introduced him into the BDSM lifestyle and role-playing before she met Nick. Is it possible that David Blanchard had a secret affair with Gypsy behind closed doors and taught her these things? Dan's friends who say, no, it wasn't Gypsy who taught Dan, and that Dan was fully immersed into power dynamics and role-playing before he ever even met Gypsy. Nick insists that Dee Dee was alive when he attacked her, claiming she cried out for help, and that he only inflicted 4 major wounds, as well as the near severing of her head. However, Gypsy's assertion that she wanted Dee Dee's death to be painless is contradicted by the crime scene photos and the types of blades used. A closer examination of the marks on Dee Dee's neck reveal a possible connection to BDSM, raising questions about Gypsy's motivations.
Considering the evidence, it's possible that Nick acted on Gypsy's command alone, and that alive usually means conscious but not unharmed.
Further investigation has uncovered Gypsy's history of manipulating Nicholas Godejohn through her kinks, leading to a heinous act. We are continuing to deep dive this subject, uncovering weird coincidences as we go. For example, David Blanchard was president of VisionCon. His organization was sponsored by something called Crimson Room, a popular online role-playing game centering around vampire versus werewolf. The website had a forum.
If you look closely in Gypsy's playshed, there was a large blue plastic tote labeled Vampires and Werewolves. And so the dig continues, only now it focuses on Gypsy and her potential links to BDSM. Our research has provided us with a lot of avenues yet to be explored. Getting back to David and Ground Zero, you would think that David and his VisionCon buddies were mortified when they found out about the Pain Tribe performing at Ground Zero. Given that some of them worked for the organization that described itself as charity-driven and worked with vulnerable children and adults, you would think they'd distance themselves from Ground Zero. But they did not. In fact, one of those tight-knit close buddies also claimed that David tried to take advantage of her. But more importantly than that, while she engages in these acts, she allegedly was working for the public school system with children. It's unclear if this person is still employed through the schools or not. Not much later, Ground Zero closed down on the last day of December in 2008, but later reopened as another club known as Zeal. Same club, different name, and owners. And here comes David and his colleagues from VisionCon once again, ready and willing to help. Yet it continues to just get darker and darker.
This is a trigger warning. Content being viewed may contain possible triggers. Please be advised.
After Ground Zero shut the doors, not long after, Zeal was opened up in the same space in early 2010. Zeal was also closed down in late 2012, although I do not know why either one was closed. Zeal held events specific to genres of music, like Fractured Wednesdays, which was geared towards genres of dance music, probably more like what you would have for music at a rave. Another was Tormented Tuesday, a tribute to dark music. Tuesday is a club that we are most interested in, because Tormented Tuesdays, it's the night where the club has higher attendance, and we find David and his VisionCon colleagues taking part in the event again. It seems as though David was really happy to DJ at this place, and images show, once again, people associated with both VisionCon and Dan Glidewell in attendance at these events.
Tormented Tuesday held fetish shows every couple of months, which it records as, quote, its most crowded night with lots of cool shit going on, end quote. I believe these are just live BDSM show nights, and with images provided, you can draw your own conclusion. A set of really disturbing images shows a young female whose boyfriend is sitting right behind her, hogtied to a pole. This creepy-ass old guy is taking hot melted candle wax and placing it on various areas of her rather exposed body. Once it's dried, he's taking an actual knife and peeling it off with the knife. If you look close enough, this female already has a slash on that same leg previously. The photos overall are insanely disturbing, but this isn't the end of what is disturbing. People are photographing and video recording these events, and they're stupid excited while doing so. There's evidence pointing out that David is aware of the events coming and taking place at this establishment, but cannot be disclosed further at this time without doxing individuals not involved in the case, one being deceased.
Gypsy, gypsy, give me your answer too. I'm half crazy, all for the love of you. I'm starting to feel more relaxed. Don't hurt me. Gypsy, why did you hurt Mama? Don't you know I loved you more than anything? All I wanted to do was protect you and be your mama. Gypsy, you will never find love. You will never be happy. I put a spell on you. Gypsy. Gypsy, I found you. You can't hide from me, Gypsy. You forget I know everything about you. I see the real you. Don't you know I was always born to be your mama? You killed me, Gypsy. You killed me. You will never see me again. But I see you. Mama always sees you.